Hey everybody, it's Steve with Sky194, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to visit my channel and watch my video. And we are here at Circuit Paul Ricard with the Lamborghini Huracan EVO, and I had a request to do a setup here as they were having some problems here at Paul Ricard. So I figured I haven't done one of these in a while, a setup guide. So I figured together we could see if we can figure out the Huracan and see if we can get a good base setup for it here. So let's get this thing rolling. And I'm going to go ahead and install the setup, which basically, which I need to go up a couple more on the back here, I think. Everything is stock. I haven't touched anything other than tire pressures just to get them to make sure that they're where they need to be. And I turned the steering ratio all the way down. But fuel, it's got 62 liters. Front brakes, the brakes are all number 2. I haven't changed anything. Everything is just the way aggressive is, except for that. So let's go ahead, and I've done some laps. So let's just do a couple laps.
Green light, go, go, go.
So I can get reacclimated with it. Really trying to put forth a good effort to get some good setups for this Huracan, and maybe together we can figure everything out. Nope, with the cone. Trial and error. I know there's some things that I'm still trying to see what makes the Lamborghini happy, so to speak. So, we're gonna see if we can, some things will work and some things might not. They said they were having they didn't, the aggressive they used most of the time, but here it just wasn't working good. So let's see what's going on with it. Doesn't seem too bad to me, but that's just me. Hope you stay tuned, because we'll probably do some, just chatting about the channel. And of course, I'm gonna probably talk about the track also, and little sections. Oh, wide there.
car system so far.
All right. Dang it, that's not this one. Climbed on that curb too much. But I do this a lot. I mean, as far as, you know, doing my setups and things like that for all my new subscribers or new visitors. It takes me a pretty good amount of time to get a setup to where it's a, you know, solid setup. I mean, it all varies depending on track, car, you know, those types of things. Some are you know, a lot easier than others, either track and car. So I'll try to do one more lap because that lap was messed up. When I see if I can do anything else. That's better. That's one of the things. Just like we're talking about the track. You know, not climbing up on that curb. These curbs here are just treacherous. I mean, they don't look that bad in a lot of places, but they really upset the car. So, yeah, I try to stay off them for the most part. You know, touch them a little bit. I mean, you look at even that. Just, you know, graze them. But one thing here, so I want to set right off the get-go, wind makes a big, big difference here. Obviously with this long straightaway.
Well done, mate. Personal fastest.
Alright, well, let's just say a 56 flat. Might be even a high 55 if I could get it right, but that's a good number just to say a 56 flat. Tires look good. Then I'm running the left side a little more than the right. That's on purpose. So, I mean, I might adjust them a little bit as we go. Let's go over this last lap. And let's just do a lap here. I hear I'm usually braking after the 100. Right after the 100, like, you know, in these cones. Down to second, and I try to, sometimes I take it out, but I try not to run over these sausages, but I want to cut them close. Then I want to bring it out a little wide. So again, come in close. Then I want to bring it back to the left a little so I can get a better angle here. Just barely touch it. Like, see that other time I was up on it. You don't want to do that. It upsets it. That's what you want to do there. Then here again, it's after the 100. And again, I just want to touch that curb a little bit, just like that. And the same thing on this one. Just touch it. Those things will upset it, and also if you go in too much, you'll get it out of bounds. And then I run left wide and then cut it in. And here is, you can go a couple different ways. I mean, you can go to where you hit, you run all over this. I try to just do like that, about hit the edge of it. And then keep the momentum, and if you run a little wide here is okay, and then I come back across and touch it again, and then of course I run all over this. It upsets the car, but it isn't going to hurt anything because you're still going straight for the most part. Let's get down here. Just past the 100, I'm hitting the brakes, downshift 1, and then I'm, trying to cut it close here. Try not to get on the curbs too much; it upsets the car. This one you have to, but that's all right. And then up here, basically I'm usually looking for this pole over here. This pole here to the right. I know it's about the best thing you can do. I mean, when you could go off of these marks here on the right if you can see them, but I'm usually trying to go off that pole. And I know it's before the pole, but I mean, like right before because that's about even with this marker here. So it's usually between these two marks, but before this pole is when I'm on the brakes. And I'd like to barely touch this curb to the inside because it will definitely upset the car and you're turning and on the brakes. So it's you don't want to hit it too hard unless you got a car that can handle the bumps and curbs really good. So let's go over that. So, I mean, I could hit it a little bit more than that, but I don't like running over a lot. And then try to keep it in the middle or so, and then I downshift a second and try to cut it back. I'm way too wide there. I would like to cut it back to where I'm almost touching that line then there. Touching that's okay, but you don't want to get on it. Now this is one of the craziest corners because you would think that following this, if you cut it to the left, like drove in on the brakes, turned to the left, and then turned, it's the fastest way. But I have learned that it is not. You can gain probably a quarter of a second by just going straighter instead of turning here, braking straighter, making this a wide apex, and then cutting it in. And then just driving out. I've done it multiple times, and compared to cutting it closer, and you gain a lot of time if you do it by doing like a real late apex here. I always use this cone right here, this third cone for my brake marker. So that's what I try to use. It seems to work really well. I mean, sometimes you could be right there, maybe just a little bit past it. Just depends on how good your car is on the brakes. But that's what I basically use is that right there. Now see, I'm running almost straight out, and then I downshift the first, but see, I cut across. You don't want, those curbs are awful, so you want to stay off them. And then see, by then I'm going got a good drive down this little chute here, short chute. And again, you want to run it a little wide. You run over that a little bit. And that's it. Now, this is a real important turn also. And I want to make sure everybody understands. This, obviously, it's the last turn before the finish line, start-finish line. And a lot of people try to make passes here because it looks so wide open. You'll have somebody dive to your inside. If they want to do that, just let them do it. Don't fight it. Just let them do it. Because there is no way they're going to be able to guard from if you come out here and drive in, you're going to get a way faster drive down this straightaway. I've done it, I don't know how many times, against AI or against multiplayer. Somebody will dive down here on the inside, cut this, and of course they're going to run wide on that next, off of this turn. And if you run here and hit it right and cut across, you are going to get way better drive, and you will just go right by them. I mean, and it'll be before the start finish, because the start finish is halfway down or so. You'll go right by them. So be disciplined, and make sure you're out wide here, and just concentrate on hitting your line and cutting here. If somebody dives to your inside, just let them have it. Don't try to fight it and stay to the outside, because then you're just playing it into their trap, because then you're going to run even wider to the outside, and they'll get the position. So you want to cut it back across and back underneath them. If they're running in here, that's what you're going to want to do. And you run right here, and stay off the curbs, and just on both those curbs, you don't want to hit either one of them. And I guarantee you'll pass them before you get to that start-finish line. So that's a lap. That's the basics of Paul Ricard. Let's see. There we go. That's the basics of Paul Ricard. So let's now work on the car. And, 56.0 to me is not bad. I think it's a pretty good setup as far as the, aggressive. It works good. But again, look at the wind here. It's extremely light. It is a headwind, but it's just very minor. I was doing some testing here earlier, and it was way higher than that, and the speed in my time was off of this, was slower than this. So wind here again makes a big difference. So if you try this setup or aggressive or however you want to do it, and you go and this has a bunch of headwind or whatever, or crosswind or whatever, it will affect the handling. It will affect the time on your time. So don't think it's something wrong with the car or whatever. It's the wind here makes a huge difference when you have these big, long super speedways like that. There's just long super straightaways. So let's look into the setup. The car is it feels pretty balanced to me. As you can see here, it's got to me a pretty good setup for aggressive. It's got very little wing. Looks a little higher to me there, but that's not bad still. It's pretty balanced. So there's not a lot you're going to, we might tweak on this just a teeny bit, but let's start on the other end. So I'm going to leave the fuel alone. It's got 62 liters. I'll just leave that alone. I'm going to knock down to number one brake pad for sure. That's the first thing. Tires, we already got the tires good. This with the toe, I would rather take some of this toe out for speed and for heat on the tires. So let's take half. Let's try half. Let's cut it in half and try that. And then let's cut this in about half. Maybe not quite half. I take the same amount out. So we took the same amount out each front and rear. So let's try that. With the camber, let's look at the, I don't know what set tires it was using. Here's the set here. They look like, we only did a few laps. They don't look too bad. But here at Paul Ricard, on almost every setup I do, I try to run a staggered setup. And what I mean by that is on the left side of the car, you have, some of the hardest right-hand turns in all the tracks here. Super high load on the left side of the car. And so I try to compensate that with how I set the car up. So basically here, I might take just a teeny bit out, just a couple out of the negative camber. But then here, I'm going to take a little bit more out just to run just a teeny bit less. And why I do that is because some of the other turns that are left-handed turns, they're slow turns. or slower turns, and you don't need that much negative camber, and I'd rather have more tire on the ground. So let's do this, same thing here. Basically, to me, I mean, that's a lot of negative camber. You got a lot of tire that's not even touching the ground. So on here, I'm going to lower it down to that. Let's just try that. And that, my reasoning again is I'd rather have more tire on the ground, and it seems like you get less chance of graining that way too, because you're not sliding the tire across. That's how you get the graining, is the car's not turning, it's just sliding the whole tire across the pavement. Electronics, I'll just leave it the way it is. I don't see any issue with that. We already touched the fuel. And of course, mechanical, everything looks not too bad here. I'm just showing it to you. I'm not going to adjust anything. We're just going to leave it. Now look, now you see this. This has already been staggered. Look at on this left front. Look at the bump stop right here compared to here. And so that's already, and that's the progressive, just aggressive. I mean, this is just the aggressive setup. So, and even the bump stop rate is staggered. At least on the front part, not on the rear, but it is on the front. So, we're going to leave that alone. Shocks also, or dampers. So all we've done, let's just go back over, is basically an alignment. That's all we have adjusted. We just adjusted the toe and the camber, and I'm going to leave the caster alone. I'm just going to leave it alone at that right here for now, 10.2. I like a little higher than that, but let's just try what we have first and just see how it goes. Make a few laps. Of course, with taking some of the negative camber out, you're going to have more road feel also. That goes along with it. And that's one thing I like about having negative, not as much negative camber, is you get more force feedback as far as through the wheel. You can feel things better. You got more tire on the ground. I like that better. But the aggressive, like I said, it feels, I think it's pretty good for compared to some of them. That's too deep. That's all right, it's just an outlap. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's a lot, very balanced, and it's pretty fast for me. There. I haven't done these in a while, so again, I mean, I'm just doing a lot of pretty much multiplayer and posting some of my setups, things like that. And I just figured we haven't done a guide in a while, so your feedback or comments are always appreciated. Oh, not a bad time. Also with this Huracan, it's, again, just like all these cars, they're all unique. They all have their own temperament, their own characteristics, I guess you could say. And one of the characteristics of the Huracan is, as you go, it seems to get a little looser. Wow, we got a big gain here.
Well done, mate. Your fastest step so far.
All right. Well, I'm happy with that. That's a huge gain. That's just on basically just, just an alignment. Tire pressures look good, really good, about right where I want them. You're looking at 6 degrees difference between the inner and the outer here, and about 4 here. 5 over here on the right rear, and 6 over here on the left rear. So that's not bad. Let's look at the tires. Look good. There's nothing wrong with them. I know it's just a few laps, so I check anyway. That's one thing I will say, that when I tested earlier and I drove probably 30 minutes just on the aggressive before testing out, trying to get everything out of the car. I did have some graining on the right front, so it was just light. So it wasn't like it was, heavy or anything, but also I was only doing maybe half a dozen laps. So, maybe 5 or 6 laps. So there was some light graining over here. So again, that's because they run a lot of, one thing is probably running a lot of negative camber. It does contribute to that. I'm not saying that's a total cause, but it does help it out as far as the graining. So to me, that's really good. Let's put it back on number 2. That seems pretty good right here as far as this goes, at least for now. let's go to the mechanical part. Let's start there. Okay, let's start at the top here. It's got 4 on the anti-roll bar. I would like to stiffen this up. The main reason is if the car in the front starts pitching one way or the other, it's going to affect the whole car. And you know, with that really hard right-hand turn and then another hard right-hand turn there at the end which is very unique. And it's flat. You get a lot of roll there, and you know, the flatter you can keep it, the better the car will work aero wise. So I'm gonna take a jump on this and make it a lot stiffer. And then on the brakes, you know, I can always use a little bit more brake. So I'm gonna go down 1 on that. And of course I can adjust this on the fly. So we can, if I want to try some more, I can adjust it on the fly and then make it a permanent adjustment once I get back in the menu. Now suspension. Suspension, another thing that I've seen that it seems to be working, not everywhere, but for the most part for a base setup, is this spring package right here. The wheel rate in the front, the springs are 190,000 and 154,000. The rear seems like if you have an optimum track, seems like you run this combination pretty often. So just so everybody knows that. So if you're at another track, there's a good chance that this would probably work. I'm not saying at every single place, but for the most part, it does. And of course, the track, you know, it's for optimum. If it's green, yeah, it might not work so good. Now the bump stop rate, let's go there. This is actually pretty good here. I don't know if I even want to mess with this left front because that's pretty high and that's pretty good. The only thing I might mess with, the bump stop range. I might go up. Let's just try it. Let's go up 1 and go up 1 here. Just so some of the little bumps, maybe it'll give it a break as far as being a little calmer, but yet when it puts a big load on it, it'll actually be stiffer when you hit that real hard double right hand turn there. Here, I think I'll leave this one alone. If anything, I'll go up 1 and the bump stop range to keep this the same. So I just went up 1, but the bump stop rate I will leave alone. Here, this is where I differ from where they usually set it up at ACC. This is pretty high in the back. The bump stop rate that's pretty high. Because think about it, whatever you do on this left rear is going to affect the right front. So I mean, that's just, you know, normal stuff. I mean, if you do something here, it's going to affect the left front also, but it's also going to affect the right front. And so basically, that's what I want to do. I want to put this down to where the rate is, I might lower it down to actually 900 just to make it a little more compliant, but I want it to be not move as much before it gets stiff. That's what the range does. I mean, basically I want it to barely move and then it gets stiff. And of course, the difference between the bump stops and the spring is way more linear. It'll, you know, it's as it's compressing, it's just getting stiffer and stiffer at a very linear amount, while the bump stop is very aggressive. I mean, and when it hits it, it's pretty much, you know, straight up. I mean, it gets stiff really fast. So that's a big difference between like a spring running a stiff spring or a stiff bump stop rate. So that's with any car. So that's that. The any roll bar in the back, I'm gonna leave this alone. The preload on the diff. And this is probably the biggest question mark to me with the Lamborghini Huracan is this preload, the diff. And and again, I hope y'all are sticking with me because you can use this for other cars too. The preload on the diff is like two different things depending upon the car that you are using. If a mid-engine car like the Ferrari, like the Lamborghini, the Audi, those kind of cars, you're going to want to run more preload on the diff. And you do that because the car is going to rotate faster naturally. The car they rotate quicker, and you want to preload on the diff to help manage some of that. But when you have a front engine car, just name any of them, whether it's the AMG, whether it's the Lexus, whether it's the Aston Martin, you're going to run less preload on the diff. You're not going to run more. Now, I'm not going to say you're not going to run real low. You're still, like some cars, like you got to run a little more because, like the AMG, is, depending upon the power. Also, like power on the car, you got to run a little more so you get the traction. But let's say the Porsche. The Porsche is obviously a kind of, it's not really rear engine. It's moved up a little bit from the rear from the old-fashioned Porsches, but it's still not a mid-engine. But it doesn't run near as much preload on the diff that the Lamborghini or things like that, because it doesn't have the power either. It doesn't have the power that the Lamborghini or the Huracan and things like that. It's just and the power is different. And what I mean by that is horsepower, they probably aren't too far off, but torque, it might be a big difference. So, and of course, that's how fast the diff locks up. So, again, it just seems to me, an experience with the mid-engine cars, they run more preload on the diff than some of the other cars. And that's the trick, is finding out what is good or what is not so good. So these have been changed. Let me knock this down. And I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. I'm gonna run this at about double of what this one is. And I'm also gonna turn this down. There. So I'm gonna turn this, make it softer, because I want it softer for the left-handed turns. I don't want the car so stiff on the left-handed turns because they're slower that it ends up affecting the car. So let's try it. Let's just see if it handles it better. Shocks. Let's go ahead and do some shock adjustments, just the basic stuff. To me, this is it's way too stiff. It's just hitting these bumps way too hard. So let's turn this down. Let's turn the fast bump down. Let's leave this alone. I like the rebound and fast rebound, not such a huge difference from each other. I don't like having a ton of rebound and then a fast rebound way low like this. I don't like that. It doesn't seem to work as well. I mean, you can turn the rebound down and turn the fast rebound up so they're near equal. I'm not saying they got to be equal, but I just don't like a humongous difference between the two. Because rebound and fast rebound, I'm sure they're different circuits, but as far as what's in the shock, but still, I mean, it's still the rebound part. So you're still I want them more close to the same and not some huge difference. There's that, the bump here. We're going to run things equal for now. I might change that later, but right now we'll just run everything equal as far as front and rear. Fast bump. I'm going to turn this down. I'll leave the fast bump alone. And let's turn the fast bump up here on this. So there, let's try that. This is the basic stuff. Let's see how that goes. Again, so we changed the mechanical. The springs are all the same. I have not changed the wheel rate or the springs at all. Just tweaked a little bit on the bump stop rate. in the bump stop range and on the front and the rear, and changed the anti-roll bar in the front, but left everything, any roll bar in the rear I haven't touched, or the preload on the diff, because it seemed to be working pretty good. So it seemed to be locking up when I needed it to and not beforehand. So let's try this out. Make a few laps. And see if it does what we want. And of course, sometimes you go the other way. I mean, it's just the way it goes. I mean, I'm just trying to get a really good base setup. And that's in time and feel of the car. I mean, I want the car to feel also good to where it doesn't feel like it's on razor's edge, that you can wreck at every corner. See, that feels a lot better. Hitting that bump a little bit doesn't feel near as bad. I don't like that bump. It's just an outlap though, but see, that's why I really, those bumps are really bad, but the car's taking them. It feels like it's taking them a lot better. Yeah, I'm just hitting the bumps on purpose, see how they're taking them. And if it can go over the bumps a lot better, you can maybe cut some time off that way. So, but it's not worth it if the car gets all upset. So. said, I like it taking the bumps a lot better. It feels a lot better over the bumps. So. Yeah, a little too loose there. Got on the power too early. Let's do another, try to do one more. Must be getting a little warmer because the tires are getting a little hotter. As I said, comments or feedback are appreciated. I try to, answer everybody if I can. I got too loose. Not what I wanted. Let's see if we can make some more adjustments to go with it. The tires need to come down a little bit. They're especially the left sides are starting to get too hot. So it's probably just because the temperature is going up outside. Let's look and see. Tires still have no, any kind of real bad wear or anything, so that's good. I need to knock this down a couple. There. Actually, I'll put that back up one. But especially these left sides, they're starting to get a little warm. So we'll leave that alone as it is for right now, just to see how we can make some other adjustments. Matter of fact, let's watch a lap. Not the last lap, but the one before that. Let's watch that. So I want to see what it does in those corners and see how how it's taking the bumps. So far, it doesn't look too bad. Car looks good. For how hard it's going through there, it's staying really flat. And that's another thing I've learned is since like I said before about each car being unique, they all have their own flex. I mean, some cars flex more than others, and you can see that, especially this track at those turns will show it. You know, the Lexus, for example, is stiff and stays pretty flat, but you take the BMW and you can tell it's flexing. You can tell the Nissan is flexing. You can tell certain cars flex more than others, and it's amazing how they have that built into the model of everything. Just like the Huracan, it doesn't look like it's flexing that much. It's staying pretty rigid through there. So, and of course, it's good in some places and bad in others. And in some places you want some flex so you can get the car to help turn and take this corner. But other places you don't want the car to flex because you need it to be as stiff as possible. That's the difference between each car and why some cars have more advantages in certain tracks than other cars. And that to me is what the beauty of you know, ACC and GT3 racing is, especially when they have it modeled that way, just the way it is in real life. Let's go back to the setup. We've adjusted again. You know, these are in the ballpark. Not to say that it couldn't use a little bit more adjustments, but it's not bad. Let's look at the arrow. We haven't touched it yet, so let's just, right now the front arrow variation is 2.5 to the positive. So again, that's a gauge to go off of, and it's just basically a rough gauge, okay? I mean, I can have a 2.5 but have a whole bunch of wing and the back end jacked up and still have the same 2.5, but the car is going to react totally different. So again, this is just something that you can gauge off of to make your adjustments, but you still got to know that you have aero grip and you have mechanical grip, and both of those things work together, kind of like, you know, I don't know how I can make an example, kind of like a sandwich, you know, that's got all kinds of different condiments on it. You know, the condiment tastes one way, but when you put everything together, it tastes totally different. It's the same thing with this. I mean, you know, you have aero that works in one way, but you have the mechanical works in another way. So they work together, but there's, you know, slow turns, it's more mechanical than it is aero, and then in fast turns, it's just as, you know, a lot aero than it is mechanical. Of course, there's still a lot of mechanical and everything, but aero takes a bigger precedence when you're looking at these super fast turns. So again, and also straightaways, if you're wanting more straightaway speed or those type of things. So again, it's all balance. It's all getting it to be balanced the way you want the car to react or to take advantage of what track you're at. Whether it's got long straightaways, short straightaways, you know, big altitude changes, which again this does not. But you know, that's a really high in the front, so I'm just going to try this, go down 1. Now see, it went up to 2.6, so that's not that much. That's a very small difference. But the lower you can have the car, the more straightaway speed you're going to have. That's the way it works with ACC. Okay, and that put it back basically level. What I want to try is, take, ooh, that's a lot. No, I don't know if that'll work or not. let's put that back up. Okay, we got it level. We got the car level at 58, but we took the rear wing out, one more out of the rear wing. So the front aero variation is taking a pretty big jump up to 3.3. Let's see if that will work. I'm going to put the brake bias back up because the back end is going to be a little on the loose side. So I'm going to put the brake bias back up towards the front more. And I'm going to increase the preload on the Diff 1 to try to help get grip, get the both wheels driving faster. So just a slight adjustment. And again, unless you're way off somewhere on the preload, I mean, I wouldn't recommend more than two clicks either way on the preload on the Diff, unless you're just way out and have to make a huge adjustment real fast, which sometimes in multiplayer you have to make big adjustments or you'll never, you know, with 5 minutes or 9 minutes, you're not going to make it. So sometimes you just got to roll the dice and do it. So let's try that. It might not work, but these are things that I do when I'm doing a setup just to see if it'll work. If it, you know, if it makes a car feel like the way I want it to feel, if I get the times out of it. Of course, sometimes it tells you what not to do. I mean, I don't think I'm going to like it, to be honest with you, but I mean, I'll try it just to see. Tires look okay. See what the pressures are after we make another lap. Not bad. Back end's real slidey though. Thing I don't like. I don't like a slidey rear end just because it seems like you grain the tires worse that way if it's just sliding around. Still not a bad lap. Still sliding though. Trying a few little tweaks on the line just to see if, you know, going over bumps and things or cutting this to see if the car likes it. Again, it seems to do the deal with the bumps a lot better than it was in the beginning. And we gained about another mile an hour or so. Gone up a couple. Dang it, too deep again. It's consistent. I mean, it's staying right there. 55.5, 55.4. So it's staying right there. Tires look good. But let's look at the tires. No, everything looks okay. Where it looks pretty even. And that's another thing you can tell. I mean, if you're doing some adjustments on your car, and this is for any car, not just the Huracan. If you look at a tires like this, and you see, let's say you're looking at, front to rear, side to side, those type of things, and one is way higher than the other. Okay, and of course, obviously, the lower the number, the more wear it is on the tire. So let's say this tire here, the left front, has lot less number. The number is lower. If I could talk, the number is lower, which means it has more wear. Okay, that means you're working this tire harder. So that means most likely the car's understeering. You're having to crank more steering into the car. So sometimes the tires are telling you what's going on. Because you can adjust the tire pressures so the tire pressure is in the range, but it still could be understeering. And if it's wearing faster, then it's going to show in the wear here. So you can look at this, and they're almost exactly the same. You have, 286, 287, 288, 285, 286, 288. So, I mean, it's extremely close. I like to see that instead of one, a way bigger difference from front to rear. Now, obviously, you see a lot more from left to right because you got these real hard right-hand turns. So the left tires are definitely going to wear faster than the right. There's nothing you can do about that. But the front to rear is going to tell you whether the car is understeering or oversteering. Same thing with the rear. I mean, if you have the rear is got a lower number by a drastic amount, then obviously you're burning the rears up. And you can see that in this when you look at something like this. So it's just to let you know and that's with any car. So that way, if you're whatever car you're using, you can use that as a tool to adjust the car appropriately. I don't really care for that. The times weren't terrible, but the car just felt like the back end was sliding around a lot. So let's go the other way. Let's go. It was 3. Let's go 4. Let's go down 1 here. Again, the lower the better. You can go down all the way down to 54. So 57 should be more than enough. I don't want to hit any curbs or any sausages or anything like that to upset the car. Matter of fact, we'll go down to 56. Let's try 56. Now, if we hit something, I'll have to come back up because I don't want to hit anything. If you run over something and the car makes a thud or whatever. So let's do that. Let's raise the rear up a little bit, just as much as we have to. It's only at 2.0 right now. And we had it before that was 2.5, 2.5, 2.6 before we did this last adjustment. So let's go up a little. Let's try that. It's 2.2, a little bit less. Let's try that. Let's go back down on the preload on the diff. In fact, I'm going to go down 2. And let's go down on the brakes, back to 61. So get a little bit more balance on the brakes. Get the diff just a teeny bit of adjustment to help it turn a little bit. Because now we're putting more wing into it. We got a little bit more wing into it. And I got the whole car lower. The whole car is sitting lower. So let's see if this works. Which again, lower the better. But you don't want it to be hitting curbs or hitting things where it upsets it in a race. Because you never know where you're going to have to go to make a pass or dodge somebody. And nothing worse than dodging a wreck, and maybe you run over a sausage or something, and then it doesn't do you any good if you lose control of the car and wreck. So that's why I say, race setup has to be way more, forgiving than just a qualifying setup where you're just trying to get the ultimate lap and that's it. That's one reason I think I like endurance racing a lot. Whoa! I like endurance racing because it's not on the ultimate lap. It's on what kind of pace can you keep doing for the whole, whole race. Obviously, you can't be way off, but I mean, can the car stay consistent through the whole tire run, or does it fall way off? I mean, that's why I guess I've always liked endurance racing. doesn't feel too bad. You're off about, I don't know, a couple miles an hour down into the straightaway. Yeah, with that bump, it upset it too much. I don't like it. Let's try to do something with that diff. Plus, it looks like the tires are getting hot again. So let's just do a couple down here again. Let's leave the right sides alone. The left side's what's getting too hot. So let's do this. Let's go back up on the diff and try that. Yeah, let's try that. Might have to make some more shock adjustments just to see if it'll help. It did help already, but see if we can get it any better. Of course, I want to thank everybody that watches my videos, you know, and especially, you know, even if you have to come back, do it multiple times to watch all of it, whether it's a multiplayer or this or whatever. I appreciate it because it really helps with YouTube. You know, I don't try to talk about it all the time because I know everybody probably hears it 1,000 times from all the other channels and stuff, but I mean, it does help with, you know, algorithms and all that kind of stuff, all that YouTube stuff. That feels better. I mean, I really try to, you know, have setups that are, you know, driver friendly. That's too deep. One thing I like about this, you can be a little more aggressive in the turns because you got more, you know, grip compared to, you know, when you got a low downforce, you're tiptoeing everywhere. All right. I don't know if I'll pan out, but on a decent lap. Oh man, blew the whole thing. Pushing too hard. Well, let's try one more lap. Oh, that's not good. I haven't heard anything hitting really, so I guess the height part is okay. Yeah, I messed that section up. Tires look okay. If anything, they're a little low on the left side for some reason. That's better. Alright, let's try just one more with this setup. I can get this first section right. I like this probably better just for the fact that I can be more aggressive and it's not going to bite me. You know, you might make mistakes, you might lose time. Ah, it's too wide. No, abort that lap. Let's go back and look at the tires. Let's see here. Oh, got light graining again. Too much sliding. Everything else looks good. We got to watch that. What side? The right. You know what that's from? I'll bet you know. That's that right front is when you turn. That double right. When you turn there, the right front wants to lock. So what we need to do is we need to up this. I'm gonna lock up the ABS 1. That might help from that locking up. So that's. I don't think it's aero or alignment related. Let's see, that's still 7 degrees. It's up there a little bit. That's only 5 degrees. That's 7 degrees also. That's kind of high. And that's 5 degrees. Let's just knock everything down to 1. And just see if that helps at all. Everything here looks good. I think the arrow, as far as the arrow, looks really good. Raise the front up just 1 more. Help it turn. That's what you do. You know, you lift the back end up so the arrow variation goes more towards the front, and that will help the car rotate. So we're just gonna do 1 click help it out. Let's try down to 0 on the, or 60, I mean, on the brake bias, see if that will help a little bit. This seems to be working. I like the preload on the diff. You can get aggressive on the throttle, and it's not getting squirmy, so I kind of like that. So let's do that. So we made adjustments. We knocked one down on all the alignment. Went up on the ABS one. Hopefully I keep that right front from locking up. And we went down a little bit on the brake bias. And we also raised the ride height 1. That it will help it rotate. So let's try that. And this will probably be it. This is unless it's real bad or something. We'll see how it works. Wait a minute, I think those are the wrong tires. Yeah, I don't think they're the right tires. Let's go back. I don't want the worn tires. There we go. There, I'll make sure it's a fresh set. I don't want the other worn ones. I kind of wish we had some more time to mess with these shocks. I think there's some more time to be gained there with that. I know this video is already running long already. Right through here is where that right front locks up. I don't know, that brake is not, I don't like it. So we'll adjust the brake back. It's making the back end move around too much. Let's go up, come on. If I need everybody's help, you know, y'all could, you know, anytime you can share it or, you know, let anybody else know about the channel, I really would appreciate it. You know, anybody that likes ACC content, or you know, looking for setups or all those kinds of things. Of course, you know, do a lot of multiplayer racing. See if I can do a better lap this time. Way off. Let's see if we can go around and make another one. The easiest cars to set up or do setups on is probably the Aston Martin and the Bentley. I mean, both those cars are pretty easy. I mean, their range of something that works is pretty wide. You know, when you got the other end of the spectrum with, to me, any of these, well, I should say any of them. I mean, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari and the, without a doubt, the Porsche. I mean, they're just at the other end. Their range is very narrow. What they like, what they don't like. Kind of a love it, hate it thing. And you want to stay off these curbs if you can. Barely touch them, it's okay, but try to split them because they definitely upset the car. And again, just another thing, I'm just showing you what I do when I'm going through my setups for people that haven't seen this before. Yeah, I don't like it. Don't like it. I think I'm going to put this back down again where it was. And I'm going to try one thing here. The anti-roll bar in the rear, I am going to go up one. And again, that's to help it rotate. Actually, I'm going to go down another one in the right height. I'm try to get it balanced, try to lower it down a little bit more, also for top speed. But that hurts the turning, the rotation of the car is lowering in the rear. So that's why I did the anti-roll bar. You stiffen it up and it'll help the back end rotate. So let's see if that'll work. Sorry about this running long. But trying to get a good base setup. And like I said, I've spent a lot more time than this on on setup, so it's not too bad really. course, I spent some time just driving the, you know, aggressive. I didn't do that recording, so I did a lot of laps just getting the tires, you know, temperatures back up, you know, back where they need to be, and those kind of pressures and all that kind of stuff. Just seeing what the car did. I said I probably got, you know, a couple hours, 2.5 hours total, and this easy. But, you know, that's why, you know, the feedback and comments are great. And if y'all try them, I hope they work for you. It's not like I make money off of this or anything. Just hoping everybody can have a better experience, you know, have more fun, be more confident, just work on improving, and just getting the most out of, you know, playing ACC. A lot funner when something handles, you know, I'm not saying perfect. I'm not saying that, you know, definitely not implying that. But just, you know, a lot better than just a standard setup type thing. And some of them are really good, though. I mean, so again, and this one's not bad. So, I mean, but some of them are just, it's amazing how you get some of them, they probably haven't been redone, and they are way out. I mean, you can't even hardly, they're almost basically undrivable. So, I mean, it makes a big difference, you know, when you have a car that does what you want it to do and you get more enjoyment out of it. And that's, you know, like I said, and of course I made, you know, a lot of friends on here, which has been awesome on the channel. And, you know, it's just great with other enthusiasts. We all just keep learning. I mean, I've learned a lot. I don't know what my hours are up to now. I haven't even looked recently. I'm probably, I don't know, 1,600 hours or more playing ACC. Of course, it's getting later in the day, so temperatures are going up. I haven't looked to see. Yeah, see, it's 29 now, so it's gone up a little bit. It was 24 earlier. Wind's still low. It's late. consistent, running mid 55s. Nah, I jerked it too fast. That's when you turn it too hard, too fast. You know, you're just going to induce slide. Let's go around, make one more lap, see how she is. See how bad that bump is? Man, see, it just totally upset the car. The one thing that's nice is the car hasn't, you know, spun out. So, I mean, I've lost it a bunch of times, but, you know, if you're in multiplayer, I'd rather do that and just lose some time than spin out or, you know, have something real bad. Car feels decent though. I mean, don't feel bad at all. Like I said, I could run mid 55s pretty much consistently. Slide, and I was on the brake too much. Let's try one more. see, I got on that curb. I lost a couple tenths right there. Still running mid-55s. So I think it's a good setup. Tires look good, even though I slid and got them hot that one time, but they're good. Let's look at the replay on the one and see we've already done 31 laps. And of course, you know, the car might get a little looser, which I'll show that here in the setup here before I end the video. I'll show it with low fuel, see what the variance goes to. Usually with the the Lamborghini Huracan, the back tires, they get a little worn, this and that, so you're gonna get a little looser as you go. They hit 172, so it's only down like a mile an hour over what the lower drag was. And I don't really worry about that totally. So I'd rather I can be aggressive and attack and not worry about the car, wrecking. Which I might get loose. You might lose time, but and when you get in a draft, it's actually not going to be irrelevant because you get in a draft behind somebody and you'll be probably in the limiter. So, you don't need to be on the limiter by yourself anyway, because you're not going to get nowhere just sitting there behind somebody and banging off the limiter. I think the car looks really steady, really solid. Let's hit the setup. You still got light graining. Some of that I still say it's that brake, so it's just the way it's going. Of course, I did slide it a few times too, but none of the other ones are looking bad, so I'd still say it's not so bad. The wear looks very close. A little bit more on the rear, like I said with the Huracan. As you can tell, it's just a little bit more than the front. Not a lot, but a little bit. So again, if you try to make it looser, it's just gonna agitate this even more. It's just gonna make us even more, worse and worse and worse, to where as the stint goes on, you're going to just completely, the back end guy is going to have no grip. So, I wouldn't want to loosen the car or have it rotate really much any faster. I think that's about the limit. If you want to try it, all you'd have to do is knock this wing down to 3. And that's all you'd have to do. You wouldn't have to do anything else. Just knock it down to 3. And, because if you did that, see, it automatically jumps to 2.8. So, also with the fuel, we have 2.1 right now. So let's put 10. So it's 2.2. So see, it's not a huge difference, but it went up 1/10 of 1%, not 1%, 1/10 of a percent. So it went more forward. So as the fuel burns down, just the weight of the car, you're going to have a little bit more aero on the front, but that's not a big difference. That's pretty close, so I'd have to say that's a win, for the Huracan. But where you get it is actually on the rear of the tires. That's where you get it, is these tires just wear faster on the Huracan with that big V10, and you end up wearing them out quicker, and usually at the end, you're going to be a little looser. So hopefully this isn't too loose. I really try to be more neutral with this car starting out because it will get a little looser. Unlike, let's say, the Porsche, which I get it as loose as I can stand it because it's only going to get tighter. It's only going to keep getting, tighter and tighter and tighter. So I try to get it as loose as I can without losing too much time and without it being uncontrollable. But, this car, against, is totally different. I try to be more neutral, and so if it gets a little looser, it's not going to be a total uncontrollable, undrivable car. But I sure hope that you enjoyed the video, and I sure hope that let's go over it really quick for everybody, so in case you're recording it that way. The tire pressure is 25.7 left front, 26.6 right front, 25.5 left rear, and 26 right rear. The toe is negative 0.05 with the camber at negative 3.6 on the left front and negative 3.5 on the right front. The caster is 10.2 on the front, and on the rear the toe is 0.1 with the camber at negative 3.1, and the camber on the left rear, and on the right rear it's negative 2.9, which actually I'd go down one there. So actually 3.0 and then 2.9. I'd rather have not that big a difference there. Electronics, 3 and 5, which again, you might even have to go 6 with the ABS if you're really wanting to have a, keeping that right front from locking up. Fuel, of course, I had 62 liters with the number 1 brake pads. Mechanical, I got 7 on the anti-roll bar, 60 on the brake bias, which I'm going to turn back to 61. So 61 on the brake bias. The wheel rate is just the way it is, aggressive, 190,000 on the front. That's springs, with a bump stop rate of 1,400 on the left front and a 1,000 on the right front. And the bump stop range at 1 on the left front and 3 on the right front. So a lot different. As far as the rear, of course, it's 154,000 for the wheel rate, and that's the same as the aggressive setup. And the bump stop rate is 900 and on the left rear with a 4 bump stop range. And on the right rear, the bump stop rate is 800 and the bump stop range is 8. The anti-roll bar is 4, and the preload on the diff is 160. Again, those are, it seems like I like that. It seems like it slides just as much as I want it to slide. More room here for sure. Dampers or shocks. On the front, it's 20, 15, 24, and 20. And on the rear, it's 15, 6, 22, and 20. And there's definitely some more room for playing with there. I think you can get it to go over the bumps so better. Again, if you want me to work on this some more, please leave it in the comments or feedback below if we want to do more playing around with it to try to see if we can get any more time out of it. I just figured this video is long enough. So the ride height is 61 in the rear and 56 in the front, and a 4 rear wing and a 4 and a 4 on the brake ducts, with the front arrow variation at 2.1 to the positive, and it was like 2.5 to the positive with the aggressive setup, so it's a little bit less. So those are just letting you know. I sure hope, and I will make this a setup. And so look for that in the link. And I always do this, where it's basically my 3rd generation, and of course it's a Huracan EVO, and the track is Paul Ricard, and OP means is for an optimum track surface. That's what all that means. And I sure hope you enjoyed the video. Again, any comments or feedback is greatly appreciated. It really is. And I sure hope you enjoyed the video. And anytime you can share it, everybody that does that, I know there's certain people that share it and put it in other forums and things like that. And I just want to say thank you to all y'all to do that. I appreciate it, and to help the channel grow. And we've grown from nothing to over 1,300 subs, and I want to say thank you to all my subs for, like I said, taking the time out of your day, whenever that is, or night, to watch a video. And anything you'd like to see, or any suggestions, comments. Again, I keep saying it. I'm pretty much an open book. I try to do what everybody would like, and try to help as much as I can. And I'm not saying I'm the authority, but I just try to just help when I can help. And I sure hope you come back and you visit soon, and y'all have a good time playing ACC. Y'all take care. See ya.